everyone, welcome to the Warren-Newport Library. My name is Rachel, and I will be leading you through our instructions on how to use the library's Libby service. Now, Libby is a subscription service that the library pays for, and you get access to through your library card. So everything that you get from Libby is free. It's a checkout. It's just a digital checkout. So you'll be getting these items virtually. You'll be downloading them over the internet and reading them either offline after you've downloaded them or reading them on a live internet connection. Now, Libby is available from the library through a couple of different routes. You can download the Libby app, and I'm actually going to share my screen with you to show you how that will look. Here's the Warren-Newport Library page, and you can actually get to the Libby website and the Libby app from our website. Now, as I said before, you will need to have a valid Warren-Newport library card in order to use Libby through our library. If you have a reciprocal card that is registered here at Warren-Newport, you will need to contact your home library, whether it happens to be Grace Lake or Cook or Waukegan or Zion. Check with them to see which download services they have available for you. They may also have Libby available, or they may have services like Hoopla, but double check with your home library if you don't have a Warren card. If you do have a Warren card, please make sure that you have it handy because you will need it the first time you go to sign into our Libby service. Now, to get Libby, you can do it from our website. You can actually go to where it says borrow, and then go to ebooks and audiobooks, and there's a link to Libby on that page. You can also download the Libby app to your device. You can go to your app store, whether it's the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, or the Amazon App Store, and download those apps. Now, some devices, especially devices that are a little bit older, may not be able to run the Libby app. If you have a device that you're not seeing the Libby app available in your app store, that's okay. You can still use Libby just the same as you would as if you were using the app. To do that, you're going to go to the libbyapp.com website, and that's where I'm going to take you now. Libbyapp.com looks and acts exactly like the Libby app. So if you're following along with us here using the app on your device, that's great. It'll look exactly like what we're doing here. But if you're on a device like a computer that's not running apps, or if you have an older tablet or device that isn't able to run the Libby app, open your browser and go to libbyapp.com. That's libbyapp.com, and you will be able to use Libby just the same as if you had the app downloaded. So this is what the first page of Libby looks like. As I said, it does require an active Warren-Newport library card. So the first question here is, it's saying, so do you have a library card? You can say not yet. It will actually take you to a link that'll help you apply for a library card, but we're going to say yes, because we do have a card. And then we have some options for how it can sign in. If you have signed into the Libby app before or to libbyapp.com on another device, you can copy your sign in from another device, or you can search for your library. The final option is Guess My Library. Now, Guess My Library will work if you have location services enabled on your device, but search for a library is probably the best way to go. So we're going to click there, and we're going to type in the zip code. Here we are at Warren-Newport, it's 60031. We could type in the Warren-Newport Public Library as well. As soon as we put in our zip code, we get a list of matching libraries. The first one listed here says Digital Library of Illinois, Warren-Newport Public Library. Now, the reason why it says Digital Library of Illinois is because the Warren-Newport Library belongs to a consortium or group of other libraries that subscribe to Libby together. Now, the reason why we do that is because each title in Libby has to be purchased as an individual book. So just like we have 10 physical copies of a book on the shelf here at the library, we have to buy each copy of books that appear in Libby. Now, buying those books together with other libraries means that we have a much bigger collection and a much wider selection available for you. Digital books are more expensive than physical books, so going together as a group gives us more buying power and gives you more options for checkout. So that's why you're seeing Digital Library of Illinois. That is the group that we belong to. But to sign in, we're going to click where it says that Digital Library of Illinois, Warren-Newport Public Library. And when we click, it takes us directly to the libbyapp.com, but our Digital Library of Illinois page. That means all of the titles that we will be searching are from that group of libraries that buys titles together. Now, as I said, because we buy each title in Libby independently, sometimes you may have to wait for a title. Not everything is going to be immediately available for you. The good news is, though, we do get all of the current bestsellers in the Libby app, and we do get multiple copies of them. So you can place holds in Libby, and you will get notified when a copy of a bestseller or any other title is available for you. You may sometimes see a notification saying that it's going to be a while before you get a book in Libby. I want to tell you, though, those notifications are frequently not accurate, and the date and time on them is not accurate. I'll tell you why. You can check things out in Libby for 7 days, 14 days, or 21 days. Now, when Libby calculates how long you might have to wait for a title, it assumes that everybody's that's on hold for it is going to want it for 21 days. And you can also return items early in Libby. So again, Libby assumes you're not going to return it early and you're not going to check it out for 7 days. So when it's estimating how long you may have to wait for a title, sometimes those estimates can be like 50 months. However, I can tell you from personal experience, I tend to get my titles very quickly in Libby, even for things that have a very long hold list, because people can't keep them overdue to finish them. As soon as their checkout time is up, it immediately goes to the next person. And there's no lead time for returning something and getting contacted for when it's available. It's instantaneous. So even if it tells you you're going to have a long wait for something, you will probably not wait more than a few weeks for something to be available in Libby for you. So just a little disclaimer there. But when we get into Digital Library of Illinois, we can now see all of the book titles that we as a group through Digital Library of Illinois have purchased. Now, Libby includes ebooks, which is a print copy of a book, just a digital print copy, Eaudiobooks, which is going to be a recording of somebody reading the book, and it also includes magazines. So there's a really wide selection of magazines available through Libby, so please check that out. But keep in mind, when you're searching by topic or title, you can find everything: audiobooks, books, and magazines. So when we look through this first page, it's always going to show us some of the most popular and new items that are available. We can see here some of the magazine titles, things like The New Yorker or Hello Magazine, Good Housekeeping. As we scroll down, there's going to be different topics and titles that will be highlighted. And anything that you see that just has the plain item cover, this is a book. Anytime you see something with the little earbuds, that's an audiobook. And anything that you see that's in the magazine section is obviously going to be a magazine. Now, when we first get to this page, we can start searching immediately, but we actually have not signed in with our own library card number yet. So we should really do that first. From the main page, you'll see right here, we have these little pop-up messages that appear, and it says, add a library card for the Digital Library of Illinois. So we're going to do that. We're going to click where it says sign in with my card. And now we get a list of all of the libraries that are part of Digital Library of Illinois. So we're going to click on 98 more. It's a long list. There's 109 libraries that are part of this consortium. But here's the Warren-Newport Library right here. We will click there, and now it's going to ask us for a card number. I'm going to use a sample card number. And type it in. Make sure you type it in carefully. You want to make sure it is an accurate card number. But once you've signed in, it's going to let you name your card if you want to. I named this one Work Card. But when you sign in, it shows you that through Libby, you get up to 10 holds. So far, we haven't checked any out. So we have 0 loans, but 10 checkouts at any one time and 12 holds at any one time. We don't have any of either yet. So it's letting us know how many checkouts and holds we have available. To get started, we're going to click Next. And now we can start searching and choose the titles that we want. Now we have another little pop-up message here, and it's saying if you prefer to read with Kindle, we can open books directly to your Kindle device or Kindle app. So if you're somebody that has an Amazon Fire tablet, or you prefer to use the Kindle app on your regular device, you can actually set up your device to load directly to Kindle. That means you will sign into your Amazon account, and you will select to have all of your titles that you get through Libby, through the Digital Library of Illinois, to go to your Kindle app. So if you wanted to do that, you would click Yes, I Read with a Kindle. And it says that you're now all set for reading library books on your Kindle. When you first download something to your Kindle, it will ask you to sign into your account. Now, if you set this by accident and you don't actually want to read titles on Kindle, that's okay. We can click continue, but we can change that setting. We can actually go down to our account settings. There's a few different ones that we can look at. This is our search. This is our library. This is our account. This is actually going to be our bookshelf, and this is going to be our timeline. I'm going to click on the 3 lines in the middle so that I can go in and change what my settings are. So I've got one card right now. It's my Digital Library of Illinois card. If I want to go in and take a look at my settings, I can go right here. And it's going to ask me different questions. So it's going to say read books with. That's what we just set to the Kindle. I'm going to click on read books with, and I'm going to change it back to the Libby app. So now instead of reading with the Kindle, I'm going to be reading anything that I check out right here inside the Libby app. If I wanted to go back and change it back again, I can. Again, I would click on that account link. That's the lines right in the center at the bottom. Go to settings, and I could change my read books with link. You can also go in and change other aspects of your account. You would always just click on those 3 lines in the center, and it's going to let you set up an email address for notifications. You can customize your navigation. You could even select a language that you want to read in and change different accessibility features so that it's easier for you to read or listen to titles. And that's always from these navigation buttons at the bottom. Anytime we click the little library building, that actually takes us back to that main collection screen that we saw when we first signed in. The magnifying glass will always take us to a search page. Again, the lines take us back to our account. These little books right here take us to our shelf. Now, we don't have anything on hold or anything checked out yet, so our shelf is currently empty. But once we've checked something out, that will appear under loans. If we place a hold, that will appear under holds. And if we place a tag on something, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But if we place a tag, it's kind of like saving it for later or marking it for later. We can keep a list of titles that we want to come back to, or things that we know we've read before, and keep a list of those in our tag section. And finally, the little clock here, this is our timeline. Your timeline will show you what you have checked out, what you have returned, so that if you want to be able to keep track of what you've already read, you can do that through your timeline. Alrighty, so we're going to go back to our main page. So now we can start actually searching for titles. There's a few ways we can do that from our main page here. We can actually leaf through and look through some of the suggestions that they have. This first section is new releases for the week. There's different guides based on different topics. They actually highlight different services. Canopy is another service that the Warren-Newport Library subscribes to, and they let you check out movies and documentaries. We will be doing a training video on that one too. Again, you can go through the different magazine titles available, and then you can see the different topical selections that they've set up for different events, for different months, so that you can go through each of those. All right, but we're going to start at the very top because I want to show you how to use these little tags here at the very beginning. These can be very, very useful when you're searching for materials that you want to check out. If you are interested in seeing new things that have been added to Libby, you can always go to Just Added. That will be things that have been just added into Libby recently. If you only want to read things that are very popular right now, popular titles will show you things that have a high checkout rate on Libby. Random is going to show you a selection of things that you might not otherwise come across. It's kind of a randomized generator that will bring up different titles and things that are kind of unrelated to what you normally search for to see if you can find something that's interesting. Available now is a really great setting because, as I said, we buy each of these titles individually. So a title can currently be checked out in Digital Library of Illinois or Libby. So available now will just show you things that you can check out immediately. And finally, there's the subjects. You can actually break down what's available in Libby by subject so that it makes it easier for you to search. But you can use any of these little search shortcuts up here to get started. You can also always go down to the magnifying glass and click and be able to search by keyword. It even lets you see some of those other filters down here once you click to that search button. I'm going to show you how to get started with searching for things that are available now. This is actually one of my favorite ways to search Libby because if I want a title right this second, I want to find out what's available to me right now. So I'm going to click Available Now. And this is the search screen, and it shows me that in this listing of what's available now, there's over 40,000 books, over 16,000 audiobooks, and over 4,000 magazines. Now that's a lot. So rather than leaf through all of them, we can use our preferences and refine our searches in order to find something that's a little bit more in tune with what we're interested in. So to use your preferences, you're going to click here, and you can set your preferences and it will stay the same throughout all of your searches in Libby. Now you can go in and change your preferences at any time. So anytime you want to choose different preferences, you can do that. But if you set your preferences, it's going to stay that way until you do come back and make changes to it. So the first preference that you can set is the format. You can actually click here and it's going to let you say, do you want to read a digital book? Do you want to listen to an audiobook? Or do you want to read a digital magazine? You can leave it at any and it will show you anything that contains the keywords or the topics that you search by. Or if you want to make sure that you're only looking at a particular format, you can choose that too. I'm going to select books. So now we're just searching for books. Then if I wanted to read in a particular language or find titles that were available in a particular language, I could go back and set that. Right now it's set to any language, but I could choose English, Spanish, French, Chinese, German, Japanese. There are tons of available languages available through Libby. So you would select the language that you want to read in, and then all of your searches will come up with those books in that language. I'm going to set it to English. And then I can choose my audience. When I go into audience, I have a few different options. The first one is juvenile. That's going to be for kids. As a parent, if you have a child with a library card, they can sign into Libby and they get 10 checkouts at any one time, just like everybody else does. So if they want to be able to use digital books, you can sign them in and set their preferences to look only at juvenile books. This means they will only see kids' titles. If you have a young adult, a teen, you could set for young adult titles and it will only show those titles. General content is going to be general adult level content. So that would be like a higher reading level than the juvenile or the young adult, but it's going to be things that mostly appeal toward adults. Finally, there is a mature content setting. This is going to be things for like erotica fiction. There is no pornography in Libby. However, it will have other things, kind of like traditional bodice ripping fiction books, those kind of paperback ones that you would see at the drugstore. There is some of that available in Libby, so you can set it to mature content if you just want to look for that. But if you want to make sure your kids do not get into that, you can absolutely set it to juvenile and they will only be seeing titles that are appropriate for them. I'm going to set it to general content. Then we can go into what it supports. Now, supports is going to mean what format is it in. The default is always going to be Libby format so that you can read it in the Libby app. As I said before, you can set to go to your Kindle and you can do that from here. You can also choose EPUB, PDF, or MediaDo. For the most part, I would tell you, unless you want it to go to your Kindle, don't change any of the settings here because it's going to always default to the Libby format so you can read it in the app. If you want to read it in the Kindle, though, you can go ahead and change it to that Kindle app reading. So actually, I'm going to set it just to anything and leave it like that. So now, availability. is everything, or we can just search things that are available now. Now we're already searching what's available now, but I want my settings to stay only searching for things that are available to me right now. So I'm going to put that on, because then even if I go into a different category to search, I'll still only be looking for titles available now. And again, I can come back and shut this off if I want to place a hold on something checked out anytime that I want. And finally, it lets me sort by different options. If I want to see things that match my keywords best, that would be relevance, and I would choose that to sort by. Popularity is going to be its popularity in Libby. Date added would show me things that are brand new. Release date is going to be things that were just published. Author, again, is going to be by author name or by title. I'm going to leave it at default, and that generally comes up with a combination of like relevance and the date that it was added. So we'll leave it just at default for now. So I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and click Apply Preferences. And now I'm only looking at things that are currently available. I'm only looking at books. So I can see my number of books stayed about the same because we were already looking at things that were available. But now all of these titles will be available for me to check out right now. Now I can further refine this because I'm still looking at almost 30,000 titles. I can refine this further, and I can do this in any search that I'm in. Preferences will always be here, and refine will always be here. So I'm going to go to refine. Now refine has a lot of the same things that we already chose in our preferences, but it has a couple of additional things. And the most important one is going to be down here where it says search within results. I want to be able to search for a keyword in the results that I'm already looking at. We're already looking at books that are currently available. And now within books that are currently available, I want to look for books on a certain topic. So if I wanted to look for crime mysteries, I would type in my keyword and press search. And now I'm limited down to 4,000 titles out of that original almost 30,000. So I can start leafing through some of these, looking for some of my favorite authors. I could also go back and refine even further and look for a particular author's name, or I could just kind of go through the list until I decide what I'd like. So when I find a title that I'm interested in, let's say I want to read this Jack Reacher book by Lee Child and Andrew Child called Better Off Dead, I can click borrow right away, and that's going to start the borrowing process. Again, I get 10 checkouts at any one time. As soon as I return something, I get another checkout. So you can have 10 things total checked out. As soon as you return something, you get that checkout back. I can read a sample of it, or I can tag it. As I said before, you've got your tag list when you come down to your bookshelf here. You can tag this and mark it for later, put it in a list for books that you want to read in the future, things you want to read on vacation. You can do any of those from right here. But I'm going to click on the title. What happens when I click on the title of the book is now I'm getting a little summary of it. It's telling me a little bit about how popular this book has been, what the topic is. I have the option now, again, to borrow it. I can read a sample of it. That's going to open a chapter of the book and let me read a few pages to see if I like it. If it were an audiobook, I could listen to a sample and decide if I actually like how the narrator's voice sounds. Or I could tag it. If I wanted to go in and see similar books, I could go to fiction books or thrillers or suspense and click on any of those similar tag buttons there. If I wanted to read reviews of this title, there's reviews available through these publications, and I could click on them to read that. If I want to see just a little bit more information, it's telling me this is also available as an audiobook. So if I wanted to be able to go back and forth between the audiobook and the physical book, I could do that. And it's also telling me that it's supported in Libby book format, EPUB, DRM, and Kindle. Here's some other books by the same series, by the same author, and I can see other titles in this list as well. So if I want to check this one out, all I have to do is click borrow. Here I am. This is my card. It's telling me you're borrowing this book for 14 days. Now, as I said earlier, you can check out titles in Libby for 7 days, 14 days, or 21 days. if you wanted to change your checkout time, right here, you would click on the duration and you could pick a different checkout time. So every time you check out an item, you can select how long you want that one for. If you know you're going to be in a car ride or a plane ride and doing quite a bit of reading over the next couple of days, you could select 7 days for your checkout. It's going to check out to you at the end of the 7 days. It will automatically return. Now, the benefit of having that shorter checkout time, if you know you're going to read the item right away, is you don't have to worry about returning it, but you're going to have another checkout available to you in 7 days. So that 7-day checkout, if you know you're going to read it right away, is really a good idea. If you know it's going to be a little bit longer, you can pick 14 days or 21 days. You can also return any of these items early. So you would pick the time frame that you want. I'm going to say 7 days, and then I click borrow. Now, as soon as I do that, now it tells me I have borrowed it. I selected for 7 days. I can open the book and start reading it right here in the libbyapp.com page. If I were in the Libby app, same thing. I'd be able to read it right in the app. If I want to keep browsing, I can go back and keep looking through my list, or I can go to my shelf and be able to see the other titles that I currently have checked out. Now, I know this is the only one I have checked out because we just saw my bookshelf and it was empty, but I want to show you what it looks like to start reading the book. So I'm going to click open. And here's the cover, showing me the nice cover, giving me the percentage that I've read. It tells me right where I am in the book right now. This is my table of contents. I can actually go to the table of contents and see the chapters broken down and move forward in the book to different places. So to start reading, I can actually just start clicking on pages. Each time I click, it's going to take me to the next page. I have a little bookmark option right here. If I wanted to bookmark a section to come back to or to remember, I can do that from here. Again, I would just keep clicking and it's going to take me to the next page each time I go. If I want to go backwards, I could click the other direction and it's going to take me to the other side of the page. Now, if I want to change how I'm seeing the screen, we can do that pretty easily. Right now, we can see that we're looking at the screen page right here. If we click this first button, it's going to show us just one page at a time. If I want to send it back to looking at double pages, I would click that button again. The next option is what my font looks like. Clicking that letter A will let me change the appearance of my page. If I don't like reading on a white background like this, or if I want to increase my text scale, I can make the text much bigger, or I can make the text much smaller, whichever I'm most comfortable with. I can also change my lighting. Right now it's already set at bright, but I can go to sepia and it's going to make it kind of like a buff colored background, or dark. If I prefer to read off of a dark background, I can change any of those. Then I also have the option, it's going to let us see the publisher's default, which lets us see it as exactly as it would have appeared on the page. Or I can pick different book designs if I wanted to see like a scholarly design or the legible design, paperback design. If you have a preference for how your text looks on the page, you can do that. There's also an option for people with dyslexia. Open Dyslexic font actually makes it significantly easier for someone with dyslexia to read. It's just a font that is easier for them to digest. So you can choose any of those different fonts, or you can even choose a custom font. So all of those options are always going to be available by clicking the little letter at the top. If you wanted to be able to search for something in the book, you can search any book by keyword and skim through the book to whatever topic you wanted to find. You would just click the magnifying glass and it's going to let you search within the book. If you wanted to be able to, again, leave bookmarks or mark notes, you can do that using the bookmark section here. You can also mark the current page right here. So that is really how you're going to utilize a book when you're in it. I'm going to click on back and it takes us back to the page that we were on in the Libby app outside of the book. But anytime we want to return to any title or book that we have in Libby, we can go two ways. We can go back to where it's minimized down here. It's showing us that we were just reading that book, or we can go to our bookshelf. The bookshelf right here lets us see everything that we currently have checked out. lets us see anything we have on hold and any items that we've tagged. If we've tagged something to save for later, they will always show up in our tags. From this shelf, we can now, again, open the title. We can manage our loan. This is going to let us return it if we want to. We can see our due date. We can also see how much we've progressed through the title. So if you're wondering how much farther you have to go in the book, coming back to your bookshelf will always tell you the percentage that you've completed. So let's go ahead and look and see what happens when we want to manage our loan. If we click here, tells us that we can change how we're reading it. So if I did want to suddenly send this to my Kindle, I can do that from here. I can return it early. When the item becomes due, if it's available for renewal, that means nobody else is waiting for it. If I wanted to check it out again, I could do that. Renew loan would be available to me. If I wanted to see, again, other books related to this, I'd be able to see the titles in the series, or I could share the title with somebody else to see if they were interested. So I'm going to return this early. It's warning me that I'm about to return, Better Off Dead. As soon as I click return, it's now gone. So I've returned it. It says I can go to my bookshelf, I can find my next read, or I can go to my reading journey. I'm just going to go back to my bookshelf. Now, if I go to my little timeline here with the clock, because I checked something out, now I can see that in June, I checked this book out and I returned it 6 days early. Checked it out on the 10th, and I returned it because either I finished or I just didn't want to read it. The nice thing about keeping this list is if you're not sure if you've read something or you're not sure if you even liked something, you can go back and see, obviously I didn't like it, I returned it early, or I finished it super fast. You'd be able to keep a list like that so that you have an idea of what you've checked out before. Now, the last thing that I want to show you in Libby is just this little action section here. The action section is going to allow you to just make some changes to what your bookshelf looks like. It's also going to let you disable that activity recording or remove your activities. So if you did not want to keep this timeline, if you didn't want anybody to be able to come back and see, including yourself, what you've checked out before or what you've read, you can disable your activity recording. It will not remember what you check out, or you can just delete it for now. If you wanted to remove everything that you'd currently done, you could remove all activities and it's going to just remove that for you. If you wanted to print out what you had checked out before just to have a paper list, you would be able to do that from Export Timeline. Synchronized Shelf, don't worry about that unless you have a ton of information. It just lets you go through and synchronize between 2 different devices. Alrighty, so that's really the basics of using Libby. Just remember, anytime you want to go back to the main page, we always click on the little image of a library, and then that takes us back to where we can continue searching, or we can just go back to the main Digital Library of Illinois page. But Libby is a very easy app to use. The libbyapp.com website works exactly the same way that the app does. It's a really great service in that this lets us get the most current titles that are available and make them available to the most people at any given time. You won't have to wait as long as you think for some of these titles. Those hold lists go very, very quickly. So if you haven't tried Libby before, I strongly recommend that you give it a try. If you ever have questions or problems or trouble while you're using it, even trying to get signed in the first place, please reach out to the library. You can contact us by askus@wnpl.info. That's our general email, and it does come straight to the reference desk. We will be able to assist you that way. You can also reach out to me personally. I'm more than happy to assist you. My email here is rmurray, that's rmurray @wnpl.info, or you can call the library at 847-244-5150 and press 4 for adult services. But we hope you enjoy using the Libby app. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and thank you for joining us today.